Okay, fifth grade, we're on to Chapter 1, Lesson 4. We do not need to do Lesson 3. Book page 31 of your math book. So, today's lesson is to represent decimals. So we are looking at models on the page. The book that I got offline had them colored in already. And it says shade the model, which was already done for us, and then write each fraction in word form and as a decimal. So here we go. We have fractions. A student already colored in the model. This is one flat, and 3 out of 10 pieces of this flat, or 3 sticks if you're looking at them in the classroom, are colored in out of a total of 10 that it takes to make the whole thing. So there are 10 pieces, 3 are shaded. Word form, we say 3/10. So word form would be just as we say it, 3/10. Decimal form, 3/10. The 3 would be in the tenths place. So here's the tenths, here's the decimal. We would put a 3 in the tenths place. It means the exact same thing as 3/10. So we'd write 0 to hold the ones place, decimal, 3 in the tenths place. And the reason that works is if you did it on a calculator, 3 divided by 10 is 3/10. Moving on. Let's zip through these as quickly as we can. 86 hundredths. As a word, it would be 80-6, and it ends in the hundredths, hundredths. T-H-S, hundredths. And then decimal, 86 hundredths. We want the last place that it ends in to be in the hundredths. There's exactly 2 spaces next to the decimal, so it'd be 86, and it would end in the hundredths. So I'm going to bring that over here. 0 in the ones place, we have our decimal, 86 hundredths. We have our tenths, we have our hundredths. It ends in the hundredths, so you say 86 hundredths. 86 divided by 100 on a calculator would give you 86 hundredths. You have 86 pieces out of 100 that it takes to make the total. Let's go to this one, thousandths. Ooh. A whole cube is worth 1,000 pieces, or ones. In word form, 51 thousandths. I would write 50-1 and then thousandths. I would probably look at something to figure out how to spell that if I didn't already know. Thousandths. Because it's a decimal, you need to have that TH at the end. Now as a decimal, 51 thousandths, I need to make sure 51 ends up in the thousandths place. So I'm going to write 51 this time. And I know I'll need a decimal in front of it, but in order for that to end up in the thousandths spot, I think I need 3 spaces. So let's check that. Here's your decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. That 51 needs to be 3 places away from the decimal, so that this last digit that I say is in the thousandths. In order to do that on my place value chart, I would write 51 and put a 0 in the tenths place next to the decimal to make sure that that spot is held open for me, so I'd annex a 0. You don't really need the 0 in front, but we do that for now. So it's 0 ones and 51 thousandths, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Since it ends in the thousandths, that's how we say it. And once again, if you did this on a calculator, 51 divided by 1,000 is 51 thousandths. To reiterate, it's hard to tell how this person colored, but it should be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 colored in. They went up to here, it's sort of hard to tell, and 1 on the front of this cube, and that's only 51 pieces out of 1,000 that it takes to make the whole thing, so you have 51 thousandths. Moving on to the bottom here, we have 1,000th. They colored in one little cube out of 1,000 that it takes one little unit, out of 1,000 that it takes to make the entire cube. So if you write it in word form, you would say it is 1,000th. One thousandth, no S. And if you write it as a decimal, this is where you need to think a little bit. I'm going to write it over here. I know it's going to end with 1 because there is only 1, but I need to make sure that this has enough place values in front of it to put that in the thousandths place. So I'm going to check my chart. I have a decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. It's 3 spaces to the right of the decimal. So I need to make sure that my answer over here for 1,000th puts that in the 3rd place. So I'm annexing 2 extra zeros to make sure that's in the 3rd space to the right of the decimal. And then I have 0 ones. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 1,000th. And that's how I know I'm correct. Once again, on a computer or a calculator, 1 divided by 1,000 is 1,000th. You have 1 out of 1,000 pieces. Just to reiterate, if you had 51 thousandths, you have 51 pieces colored in out of 1,000 that it takes to make the entire cube. And